Hello everyone, welcome back to Powerful Nothing, a Magic the Gathering Cube podcast. I'm your host Dan, and as always, I'm joined by James. James, how are you doing this week?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. We're back with our regularly scheduled weekly program. We took last week off, primarily because a member of the podcast team ate something they shouldn't have and were very ill. It was my cat. A very important member of the podcast team was very, very ill last week. So the day we were going to be recording, I spent the evening in the vets instead. But the feline is all good now, and we're back. For those who didn't see, I did do a little live stream last week. I spent a few hours trying to build a bar cube. So if you want to see me actually in work putting everything we talk about to use, check that out. Links will be down in the show notes below. Along with time codes for our topics today, and a card gallery with images of all the cards that we talk about today. While you're down there, please consider giving the podcast a thumbs up, 5-star review, all that good stuff. Because today, we have a very topical topic. The MTGO Vintage Cube is back up. It went live on May 6th, and it's been updated for Secrets of Strixhaven, along with some cool archetype changes. So the goal today is we're going to talk through those changes. We're going to talk through the ads. We're going to talk through the cuts. And we're going to talk about what we like and what we don't like. So I think the best place to start is probably with the ads. Let's talk about the new shininess before we talk about the lovely cards that we're not going to be seeing for a little bit. The main adjustment for this version of the MTGO Vintage Cube, they're always trying new packages, trying new cards. The main package is they're calling it Colourfull Cornicopia. This is a multicolored matters deck, and kind of the vibe is they've added every charm from Strixhaven. Every new charm has come in. They've added a bunch of additional multicolored cards. So like Satya, Aetherflux Genius. It's the Jeskai energy matters card that kind of it generates energy and does it make you a token or cheat things into play?
So it's one Jeskai for 3/5 menace haste. When it attacks, create a tapped and attacking copy of up to one of a target non-token creature you control. You get 2 energy. At the beginning of the end step, you sack it unless you pay energy equal to its mana value. So it's powerful if you have some extra energy, sure, and you get to keep something. But mostly what you're doing here is just getting an ETB and an attack from the thing that you copied. Also, side note, it combos insanely well with Ocelot Pride.
Oh Jesus!
Because the Ocelot Pride you make is a token, so it sees itself and makes copies of itself, and then the other Ocelot Pride, the original one that you'd copied, also makes copies of it. And
oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, it's really dumb. You end up with like 20 cats, and I have no idea how much. Basically, what happens is you go to the end step, and then an incalculable number of cats will appear on your screen.
and then MTGO crashes, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, I honestly, if this happens in paper, I will not know how to work. I will not be able to work out the number of cats. But on Magic Online, loads of cats just appear, and that's lovely.
A lot. Yeah. Okay, tight. So Satya's come back in, along with Leovold, Emissary of Trist, a kind of a card that is always kind of coming in and out, and then Ang of the Crossroads. This is this is the Bant Ang that transforms into Ang Destined Savior. Kind of like they're not specifically in from a synergy point of view. Like Leovold isn't in from it synergizes with this deck. It's more in that it's a multicolored card, and this deck wants as many multicolored cards as possible. So they've been added along with things like Omnath, Locus of Creation, and like Atraxa that are already in the cube. Basically, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to raise the number of multicolored permanents there. So that's why, as I mentioned, we've got 5, the 5 charms from Strixhaven coming in. The reason for that is they're trying to combine them with cards like Ancient Cornucopia. It's a card from The Big Score, which was the addendum set to Outlaws of Thunder Junction. That's 2 and a green for an artifact. Whenever you cast a spell that's 1 or more colors, you may gain 1 life for each of that spell's colors. Do this only once each turn, and it taps to add 1 mana of any color. They're combining it also with cards like General Ferrus Rockrick. This is actually quite a solid one. 1 red and a white for a 3/1 legendary creature human soldier. Hexproof for multicolored. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a 4/4 red and white golem artifact creature token. That's very nice. Like if you go that into any kind of charm, you're going to make a 4/4. If you can do that multiple turns in a game, you will probably win that game. And then they've also added in a card like called. They've also added Niv Mizzet Reborn in. That's the Wooburg Niv Mizzet from Roar the Spark, 6/6 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each color pair, choose a card that's exactly those colors from among them. Put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that is a card that specifically wants charms, specifically wants cards that are 2 colors. Because in theory, if you could draw, in theory, 10 cards if they are every color pair: Azorius, Boros, Rakdos, etc., 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 etc. But that is a card that it can, in theory, could be a 5-mana 6/6 that could draw you 4 or 5 cards in the right deck. Those are kind of like what they're trying to reward you with. James, initial thoughts on that as a deck? Kind of from my end, I like the idea of like the 5-color nonsense deck actually getting some support. I think Ancient Cornucopia isn't the strongest, but like I like Niv Mizzet Reborn and I like General Ferrus Rockrick. There's a world of just like when we did our set review, like our opinions on like the charms, for example, were kind of like all the ones we reviewed anyway, like they're all fine, they're all solid Magic cards. The reality is we don't really have slots for them in most cubes because there's just more like there's more interesting gold cards. But with this, they're trying to make, I don't want to say they're trying to make the vanilla card interesting, but they're trying to make the charms they're trying to reward you for playing those cards, which is kind of like what this deck, what this kind of archetype is built around. What do you think about the Colourfull Cornicopia package, as they're calling it?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting twist on the 5-color stuff, right? Because normally the way you get paid off for having a lot of colors is just casting better cards, right? Because you can cast whichever powerful cards you see, or they pay you off with like Wooburg cards. So only very specific decks are able to cast them. The thing they've gone for here is trying to reward you for having multicolored cards specifically and putting them on the stack, right? Something like General Ferrus saying, whenever you cast a multicolor card, so it pushes you to have a bunch of multicolor cards, but also having cheap ones, right? So you can cast a bunch of them. It's an interesting try. They've had General Ferrus in before, and it's not been very good. But and believe me, I did try. It will not shock you to know. But I think the thing that was lacking was that density of multicolored cards. So yeah, I'm kind of down to try it. Niv Mizzet has been in before as well. I really like this Niv Mizzet. I think it's really cool. It is, I will admit, like, the thing it is doing is powerful, but it is not the thing that Cube is about now. Like, big dude that draws a bunch of cards, cool, but that can't be like the main thing my deck does, because it's a lot of it's quite a lot of mana. You're not going to have it that early every game. And it's just not like the other 5 drops are so good, is the problem. The ones that just cost normal colors of mana already kill everyone. Exactly. So it's like a lot of hoops to jump through to get to put Niv Mizzet on the stack, and then it's just not that much more powerful than the other 5s. But it's cool. I'm into trying it. Honestly, it's like funny to me that other people need more incentives to play 5-color. I was already there, you didn't need to give me this, but I'll play them, sure. I don't know why we need to put in all the bad gold cards. Most of these charms aren't very good for Powered Cube. They're obviously like not objectively terrible Magic cards in a vacuum, but they're not at the power level that you need for this sort of cube. Especially, right, if your motivation for adding more gold cards is to push this 5-color gold cards matter deck, then you need to add gold cards that complement that, like not Silver Quill Charm, Like, to white-black, for an instant, choose one or more, 2 counters on a creature, don't care about that in my 5-color deck.
Yeah.
Each opponent loses 3, you gain 3, don't care about that. They're at 20, it doesn't matter. So I'm using it for exile target creature with power 2 or less. What was that? Last gasp? Last breath? Something like that. That's not a good removal spell. There are much better ones available. I don't know, give us Vindicate. Why do we have this?
No, it is a thing of I'm looking at kind of like so the actual answer is they need to test, or they need to add new cards from the new set, but don't worry about that. But like there's a thing of I do agree, because there's I like Quandric's Charm. I think Quandric's Charm is a cool card, but would this deck prefer Growth Spiral? Would this deck just prefer a way of just getting through your deck, putting more lands into play so you can cast your 5-color spells? Is that, and I like looking at these updates, because one thing that I will give the team a credit for, they are very good at finding packages and finding new things, but I don't think they always go about it. They're kind of hampered in the fact that they are putting these cards in the MTGO Vintage Cube. It's just the power level is so high that ultimately I think this will be a test that will get rotated out. But what I like about this is that effectively this is a framework for a lower powered level cube. Not that much, not super lower. This could go into maybe my unpowered Vintage Cube with some amendments. But any kind of lower powered level cube, or a modern powered level cube, something like that, or a more budget cube, this is a nice cool thing to do with multiple colors. A 5-color deck is run cards like Niv Mizzet and General Ferrous Rocket to reward you for, or as an additional reward for playing all these different colors. One thing that's nice is most of the time we've seen this kind of 5-color deck and the rewards for it, it's been more based on the lands and the colors of mana your lands make. Also, you have cards like Field of the Dead. That was a reward for the 5-color deck before. I like that it's moving to be more spells based than lands, I guess, because in theory, in my head, the optimal land package is more expensive and more out of reach for more players than this kind of 5-color deck in a slower cube. But yeah. I think I like the idea. My gut is this will rotate out in a couple of iterations as they try something else. But I think there's a stronger version of this if they weren't forcing having to use all the charms, basically all the new cards.
Yeah, you could switch those out for better gold cards, and the deck would be better. Absolutely. But the payoffs are still not brilliant, right? The Ferrous is interesting. Ferrous is a card I could imagine being powerful. Niv Mizzet is cool. And I will, you will run it in some decks. The Cornicopia, this is not a payoff. Come on.
No. Just find the next worst Birds of Paradise. Run that instead.
I love a Manolith with upside. Every draft format there's we have the Dragon one in Tarkir, that was great. Painter's Trove in this set is phenomenal. Love that. It's a little Manolith that can gain you some life as well. We're talking about powered cube though. The good artifacts, the good mana rocks in this format cost 0 mana. Not free. It's a little bit tough, I think, for the old Astral Cornucopia. Yeah, I don't know. I'll play some of these cards, but I'm not super optimistic on this as a package, to be honest.
I'm just looking at it. I don't think Hero of Precinct 1 is in this. And that seems a bit of an oversight. 1 white, 2/2. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a 1/1 white human creature token. I'm looking. I don't. It's not in their list of updates. I don't know if it was in the cube already. Yeah, I've just done Control F and I don't find it. That would be just a nice additional reward for playing multicolored spells. Like there's a bunch of effects that kind of can punish multicolored spells, but as a reward, that one seems just like a nice. That would go in a Boros aggro deck fine. Reward you for playing some Boros cards, but would be good in this deck as well. Yeah, interesting. one actually thing I do want to get your opinion on, James, is there are currently 6 jewels of each color, including things like Fetch, Shock, Jewel, and then we have Triomes as well. Do you think that, just from a logistic point of view, is that enough to make a deck like this work? Can you make the mana work as they intend with this? Or do you think you have to be kind of heavy green, running like your rampant growth effects and your cornucopias, that kind of stuff, to splash out for it? Like, how hard is casting all these spells going to be, do you think?
The mana's really good in Powered Cube now. Because of the Fetch, Shock, Triome mana base is just so efficient. Plus, there's actually a bunch more lands than it looks like, right? Because you have all the land cyclers from Lord of the Rings, like your Lorien Revealed, Eagles of the North. They're all in. So that's almost like a redundant, like, fetch lands 6 through 10. Obviously not as efficient as the fetch lands, but they do the thing of they will often fetch you all 5 colors if you have the right fetchables, and that's the deck you're trying to draft. So yeah, I could see the option of like, oh, we're doing this 5 color thing, so we should add more lands. I actually think it's a good decision not to. I don't think they need to. I think like you could already draft a lot of colors in Powered Cube without this package existing. Yeah, I don't think they needed to add more lands.
No, that makes sense. But it's good to know from a base level that kind of like, if you wanted to draft this, that it's not that it will work. Like the cube is already set for it. That's nice.
Yeah, for sure. Like 5 color was already good. It will continue to be pretty good. I just have my doubts that these are the cards that are going to make us care.
Yeah.
So honestly, the cards they could add if they want to make 5 color better. I don't think Scion of Draco is currently in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's a pretty cool 5 color payoff, but costs 2 mana is really powerful. We do have stuff like Leyline Binding is still in, I believe. Yeah, but these are the 5 color payoffs that matter. It's not. Sorry, Niv Mizzet. It's not about Niv Mizzet.
No, I do agree.
It's certainly not about Astral Cornucopia.
I agree in this power level of cube. Yeah, again, what I was saying is what I think I like this is like I think there is a lower power version of this that I think could sit quite nicely. And basically, yeah, you just pick the 2 color charms. You pick the best 2 color utility spell in each color pair, add that in your cube, and then you add some of the other multi-color payoff cards with the good mana base. That's the package.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to do the when you cast a multicolored spell, get a payoff thing, there's certainly some nice stuff there. You can even do stuff like running the like hybrid cards count, right? And are really easy to cast. You could do something like Thrill of Possibility is a card that shows up in a bunch of cubes. There's literally a Thrill of Possibility that is blue-red hybrid and lesson, and is just easier to cast and will trigger all this stuff, right? That's those sorts of options are quite nice for getting this to work as well.
Nice. What James just mentioned might just be a nice little bit of foreshadowing for next week. But let's talk about some of the other additions that they've added. Just some cards from the new set that they've added that they're testing. I think we're not surprised that some of these are going in. They've added 3 of the Emerituses. They've added Emeritus of Truce, which is the one that can cast the Swords to Plowshares. Emeritus of Ideation is the most obvious test I think they've ever added. That's the one that comes in and lets you cast Ancestral Recall. And they've added Emeritus of Abundance. That's the one that casts Regrowth. They have added a bit of Flicker in on top of what was already there to help support these and a couple of the other prepare cards. I don't think we were surprised by all of these. I think you were higher on Emeritus of Truce than I was in the set review, but it casts the Swords to Plowshares. They're going to test it. I think it kind of. I think I'm not surprised by any of these coming in. I'm a bit surprised they didn't add the black one, just because black 4s are not that deep. And I personally think the black one is better than the white one. That's the one. The black one is the 4 mana 1, 4 mana 5/4 that casts Demonic Tutor. and has the base level of being a 4-mana 5/4. That is just good enough. What do you think, James? Like, are you surprised these came in, or surprised that the black one wasn't included? Or
I think blue and green are both quite strong. I'd have been surprised if they hadn't included both of them. The green one I'm interested in for, you can do a silly loop with Displace a Kitten and a Time Walk, and I'm all about infinite turns. So that's cool. It can also make, and it goes infinite pretty easily with Kitten, actually. Also, like, Kitten, the Emeritus, and Black Lotus is infinite mana, right? So basically, we've figured out how to make both Black Lotus and Time Walk into good cards in this show, so that's good.
We nailed it.
Yeah. Ancestral Recall is also a good card, so I like Eidolon of the Emeritus of Ideation. I'm not sure it's going to, stay in forever, but I think it's certainly a card that you can put in your deck and will be pretty good. Kind of a 6-drop, and 6 is a lot of mana to play, but it does pay you off, and it's slightly hard to kill as well. The white one is, I'd say, the weakest of them. I think it's not a bad card. I think, 3 mana, 3/3 plus 1/1 is fine. Sometimes you'll get to sword something that's pretty nice. It was slightly odd to me that if they're trying to add more flicker to support these, this is one they chose, just because this actually isn't great to flicker, right? Because at some point you're going to stop getting the swords, unless you keep giving them a bunch of tokens, which seems like it has its own problems. And, if you're swordsing their stuff, then they have less creatures, and then you don't get the swords back, I guess maybe if you keep flickering it, you can gradually turn all their creatures into 1/1s in a vicarious way.
I don't hate that.
Is the idea. Yeah. But yeah, it seems like maybe the weakest of the three. I think the black one would be cool, but it is quite a lot of mana, right? Because it's, if you want to play it and use it in the same turn, it's 6 mana, and unlike the white one, you don't get you're not getting an ETB on the way in, so it's it could be a little bit tough, but it's just, I think it would have been a good add as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's room for them to add stuff later. That's the thing. I guess one reason, which kind of brings us on to our next section, is they describe this as adding more support for combo. So I guess specifically, they've, instead of adding Emeritus of the black one, they've added a card like Wishclaw Talisman and Pillage the Bog, which are I guess more efficient shooters, because you don't have to cast a spell and then cast something else. You can just cast your Wishclaw Talisman and go and shoot at the thing you want. They've specifically mentioned that these are in to help Chain of Smog combos. I'm personally not the... This is weird because Golgari is life, Golgari is love, but I am not a fan of these combos. I've got a note here that the only time I've ever seen it come off in my cube was the cube where we added Canal Dredger, which is the Conspiracy Draft Matters card that means one player gets the last card in every pack, and they were effectively... The whole Chain of Smog combo and deck was left last pick in everyone's packs so that they got the whole combo. That's the only time I've ever seen it fully come together. So they got effectively an extra 20 cards over everyone else, and it still wasn't great. That might just be bias of that one thing, but and maybe with these additional tutors on top of cards like Demonic Tutor and Vampire Tutor that are already in the cube, maybe that would make it better. But James, from your point of view, how have you found Chain of Smog combo, and will this buff to it help it become more real?
So I think it is a little bit better than people think it is, because it does. You're right. It goes last pick in every cube that it's ever been included in, as far as I can tell. I think it is a little bit better than that, because it is just a pretty mana efficient way to win the game, right? Apprentice Chain of Smog form is just 4 mana to win the game from your hand. You don't have to untap with anything. So the upside is there. The thing that's tricky about it, right, is... so maybe we should just briefly explain what the combo is, actually. So the best version of this combo is with a Bloom Apprentice, which is green and a black for 2/2, has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy a spell, it drains them for 1. The combo is you cast Chain of Smog, which is target player discards 2 cards, then that player may copy it and target a different player with a copy. The idea is you target yourself, you discard 2 cards, you then copy it, you target yourself again, you're copying a spell infinite time, you drain them out. The tricky thing is that you can disrupt this combo with a removal spell, and if they do disrupt it, you just lose the game, right? Because it's not like they just dealt with your 2 cards and you move on. You also discarded your hand. Because they don't even have to kill the apprentice right away, right? They can let you do it a couple of times until you're empty-handed, then kill it. And that's pretty tough to come back from. So one thing I really value if I'm trying to get this combo to work is ways to look at my opponent's hand. So ideally that's discard spells, but even, something like a Gitaxian Probe. Because... the removal's really efficient in Vintage Cube. It feels very, very risky to go for this combo into even 1 open mana, and that's kind of tough,
No, I'd agree. Like I think for me, Chain of Smog feels it's like a less cool Dark Depths. In the Dark Depths, you have to see the Chain of Smog. There's redundancy on the other end, but there's no redundancy on the Chain of Smog. With Dark Depths, there is kind of now with Baloth Prime, which is tight, but there isn't really. There hasn't traditionally been the redundancy on Dark Depths. So if you don't see it, what's your Thespian stage doing in your cube? The support for it is so many slots that is specifically in a 540 cube when you don't see every card means that there is a third of the time this is not going to be opened, and therefore you've just wasted 2 other slots for this combo. And the reality is Dark Depths stays in because Dark Depths is vibey as hell. We like making a 2020 Squiddly Fish. That is cool.
I think this combo is better than Dark Depths.
Yeah, fair.
Go back.
Fair.
I think Dark Depths sucks in Powered Cube. I think it's really bad.
I would generally... Yeah, no, that's fair. I would generally agree from a power level point of view because, again, they have added another Swords to Plowshares to the cube. Famously doesn't do well with Dark Depths. But
this one does at least win you a game on the spot, right?
Yes.
They don't have
I do like that, yeah.
You don't have the Dark Depths thing where they have a whole turn cycle to find a removal spell or a fucking Lingering Souls to block with, which is kind of where Dark Depths falls down. So yeah, I think it's fine to go for it. And in principle, I like them trying to lean into combo stuff more. I think one of my frustrations with Powered Cube and why I play a little bit less of it than I used to is that it does feel, I mean, not monotone, but because the powerful Modern Horizons-y stuff is so loud, it sort of drowns out a lot of the other stuff, and the Modern Horizons stuff isn't combo stuff, right? It's all fair beaters, fair in air quotes to a certain extent there. And I think it's really important for this sort of cube that you have some combo stuff, and combo stuff that isn't sort of just isn't just cheating a giant thing into play. I think you need that. You need that range in the decks that are available to draft, right? So in principle, I like them leading into combo a bit more. I think the With a Bloom Apprentice stuff is fine to have in. I don't think it's great, but I'm not against adding Wishclaw and Pillage the Bog. I think they're both good.
Yeah,
they're good cards.
They're just good cards. Yeah.
The Wishclaw, you really do need to mean it. you can't crack a Wishclaw Talisman if you're not winning that turn, is generally the approach you should take. If you're winning that turn, there's no downside. If you're not winning that turn, it's very, very tough because they can then Wishclaw for whatever thing they need to disrupt for what you have going on. Pillage the Bog's just a really powerful card. It's you often end up splashing it, and you're not like straight Golgari that much in Powered Cube, but I know you would. You maybe are, but most people aren't. But Pillage is just a good card. You just see so many cards for your 2 mana, right?
Yeah, I don't think I have any issues with Wishclaw or Pillage the Bog coming in. I think it's just I'm not the biggest fan of Chain and Smog, but I do agree. Like I do want there to be combos in Powered Cube, and like if this is it is when it comes together, it is cheap and it is efficient, and it can be tutorable in these colors. So that is nice. So maybe more support is the thing that deck needed. We'll touch on a few more ads before we get onto the cuts. Just some general cards that are worth mentioning. Erode is coming in. That is the new Sword to Plowshares Path to Exile variant from the set. I think we like that. Sage of the Skies has come in. This one's been doing a bunch of work in the Arena Cube. Now coming into here. Traumatic Critique is rare from Secrets of Strixhaven. It's the one that is a loot, but if you have enough mana, it can be a fireball to the face. And then a card that we actually missed on the set review, Vicious Rivalry, 2 black and a green for sorcery. As an additional cost to cast a spell, pay X life. Destroy all artifacts and creatures with mana value X or less. So it's sort of a version of Toxic Deluge, basically. Seems solid, like another board wipe, especially in a world where Boris is still pretty good. An extra board wipe we like. 4 mana, more than 3, but if Golgari is now the color of the combo deck, adding a board wipe for it is probably a good thing for that deck.
Yeah, that card does not seem bad. I could see running that. If you've got to include X amount of cards from a new set, I like that more than I like Silver Quill Charm, put it that way. One I was kind of surprised they didn't add actually was Together as One, given they're doing this multicolor theme. That's the 6 mana color sorcery with Converge. You draw X, deal X, gain X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast it. Like, that to me seems like a cool payoff for a multicolor deck. Like, sure, it's not going to be great in every matchup, right? There's some decks are too quick for this. Some decks are combo decks and don't care about you killing their creatures and drawing cards. But in a fair matchup, this seems pretty strong. Like, you want to be casting it for like minimum 4 colors, right? But I think if you are, the card is pretty reasonable. Yeah,
that one does seem fun, and kind of I agree. This is the place where you would play that, because like this doesn't go into like other big spellslinger decks that are kind of cheating casting spells because you won't get anything from it. If you cast this if you cheat to cast this, you will not be spending any mana on it. Therefore, it'll do nothing. Whereas in this, we are actively trying to do multiple colors. So it's actively the place for it. So that is an interesting point. Let's move on to the cuts now. An interesting way they've done the cuts with this. So outside of a couple of like the generic cuts where they're rotating through cards from recent sets. So like some of the cuts have been cards from the Turtle set. Some have been from Lorwyn. The biggest change to the cube in terms of cuts is that so much of the room for all the cuts have come from them removing every Aristocrat card from the cube. The Vintage Cube hasn't really stuck to rigid color balances, but this really does take it to the next level. Like, there's so many red and black cards being cut for like multicolored gold cards that don't have red or black in them. Like, generally, dear listener, if you're making a change to your cube, I wouldn't recommend making changes like this. Like, I wouldn't cut a bunch of red and black cards and add a bunch of Simic cards. Like, that does not normally lead to a well-balanced cube. But like the Vintage Cube specifically is an exception to this. Like that card has always that cube has always had 20 more blue cards than white cards. It's a cube that's built more in packages like these than specific color pairs, which you tend to find in like more lower power level cubes or more entry level cubes. Or like to be fair, like like my Unpowered Vintage Cube is it has more emphasis on 2 color pairs than the MTGO Vintage Cube. The MTGO Vintage Cube is very much based on like packages. So from their eyes, it's we cut this package to add this package. It's more of like a deck, if that makes sense. This like also worth mentioning, the Arena Cube is actually more balanced as well. Even it has a way more even number of card distribution, which actually might be a reason why Boros aggro was stronger there than MTGO Vintage Cube, because they're actually just more redundancy because they're trying to balance it a bit more. But that's a side topic. Let's go back to Aristocrats. I think it's fair to say, James, that kind of Aristocrats has generally struggled at the very highest power level of cubes. But kind of like, where did you see it when last time you played the MTGO Vintage Cube? Kind of like, do you think it's fair that they cut it from a power level point of view? Like, was it just not putting up numbers?
You could win with it. This I think is in a similar place to the very all-in discard masses like Vengevine, Rootwaller stuff, which they have kept and I think is cool. Where basically almost no one drafts it, and you can sort of get all the pieces, and when you get all the pieces, it can be pretty good. But it's but you really can't afford to fight anyone for it ever. You're relying on, but it's cool because you get like 2 cards out of each pack, right? Because you're like, right, I'm gonna first pick this Thoughtseize, and I'm 100% of a lock to wheel Mayhem Devil, and we can get cooking, But even when you got all of it, it was, you're still like, obviously not every card is opened. It's a 540. You still needed some stuff to go your way. I like it less than the Rootwaller, Bizarre, Vengevine stuff, actually. That deck, I think, works a little bit better than the Aristocrats deck. I think the Aristocrats deck is a little bit fair. So yeah, I think it's a fine card. I honestly, I quite like this approach to Powered Cube they have, where they have packages that come in and out, and obviously there's the packages that never leave, the really powerful ones, and there's ones that rotate in for an iteration or 2 and then come out. I kind of think, given that the Powered Cube is up so much more of the time these days, if they want people to keep playing it at that rate and they want to maintain interest, they need to do stuff like this where they rotate stuff in and out, because otherwise I think people who play it a lot are just going to get bored of it, So I don't mind this approach at all.
Yeah, you do kind of need, not seasons, but you need like different, you need reasons for people to come back. You need new decks for people to try. And like with the ones they've done, like we've seen Aristocrats a bunch. Like Aristocrats is like a staple. Like I think most people's first cube, what does Black X do? Oh, well, things die, creatures die. We're doing Aristocrats. Like I can understand why they have like, you can do that other places, and if it's not putting up numbers from a power level point of view, and there isn't really any combo stuff with it right now, like it's hasn't been the, it's been more the, I'm aggroing you, I win with some life drain, rather than here is my 3-card sack creature combo thing.
Yeah, it's not Blood Artist deals infinite, it's Mayhem Devil deals the last 6, and most of the time what it is, like a pretty good mid-rangey to aggressive red-black deck with some creatures, and there are good red-black cards that sacrifice stuff, and yeah, you have like a Mayhem Devil and there's a payoff. It's fine, you can make it work, but it's not brilliant. The thing is, I keep coming back to the Modern Horizon stuff, but it's so much of what Powered Cube is these days is people's powerful Modern Horizons cards are like as powerful as your whole engine, but they don't need for setup, you know? Like, Psychic Frog that you can put on the stack is as powerful as your Mayhem Devil that you built your whole deck around, you know? And that's kind of tough because, you know, when you kill the Psychic Frog, the rest of your deck is good cards. Whereas when you kill the Mayhem Devil, people are drawing their like Bitter Bloom Bearers and their Jadars, and it's their sack outlets, and they're just not quite doing it, you know?
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah, it is a state of just the MTGO Vintage Cube, and like it is it's probably like it's always worth touching on because the MTGO Vintage Cube is probably most people's like either this cube or the arena one will be the cube that most people know. It might not be the one that they like. It'll either be the one they play the most, or it's the most visible just in terms of content creators. Like people make a lot of content about the MTGO Vintage when it's up. They'll see people playing it. It's always worth touching on it with this kind of stuff. But yeah, I do agree in terms of it is the thing of the MTGO Vintage Cube is trying to do them. It's trying to present the most powerful, balanced, I will say, environment. Like it doesn't run things like initiative cards because they warp it too much, which I think is fair. But like generally, it's trying to play the most powerful decks possible, and I do like the fact that they try new things. Like I think we're both kind of in agreement that like the Colourfull Cornicopia package might struggle to get there, but similarly to like the like the Madness deck, like I love that deck. I've had it in my cube for a while. I'm glad that they're also like showing me some other cards I could consider running in my cube. That's quite nice. And also that they had that landfall deck from Final Fantasy with like the turn 3 kill with like Tifa Lockhart, that kind of stuff. That's cool. I'm glad they're pushing these packages. And like to be honest with you, I'm kind of, if these don't fit in this cube, they will fit in plenty of other cubes. And if they have to keep coming up with new things, it's just more for us to talk about and more for us to test out in our own cubes. And like, it's one of the we're not getting political, but like it's one of the times trickle down economics actually kind of works. Do you get what I mean?
It's not how I was going to phrase it, but I do. Yeah. I'm not sure this is what they're all talking about with that phrase, though. Yeah, no, I think it's a tough cube to design this stuff for because I think they have lots of ideas and they want to keep it interesting and keep it changing, but it's a very unforgiving environment for new synergy packages. I will say the Madness one does work and is cool. And that was a great job getting that to work because, yeah, it's very, very tricky in this sort of cube. But I mean, even that, you know, it is, again, that same thing of it works if you get absolutely everything and not really otherwise. But yeah, I think I don't mind the approach they've taken to it. I think I would like to see them support a bit more of the combo-y stuff in terms of getting some of the Storm cards back. I think that would be cool because I think that's one of the... Like, I understand the reason getting rid of it. Like, I'm sure the win percentage isn't very high if you take it in the aggregate and yada, yada, yada. But I think it's, like, one of the coolest things you can do in these cubes, and it's what makes them feel iconic and different, and it only really works in Powered Cube. So run with it, in my opinion. Like, I would rather see them dedicating slots to that stuff than to Aristocrats or to... you know, this freaking Astral Cornucopia and Silver Quill Charm, but you know, I'm fine with them having new ideas and go ham with it.
Right, I think that's going to be a good place to leave it for today. James, pleasure, man. I think that was a good chat. Yeah, we'll touch back in when they do some big changes on the MTGO Vintage Cube in the future. Always good to kind of keep an eye on what they've got cooking over there.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't want to sound too negative. Just for context, I do still like the cube. I think it's cool. I don't play as much of it as I used to, but I think it's a good one to drop into. And there's still a lot of really fun decks you can draft in that. I think that cube is just a good product, and it's that I think some people have got a little bit burned out on it, and I include myself in that.
Oh, I think it's probably a thing of you probably still. My honest opinion is you probably still play the same amount total that you did previously. It's just you're spreading it out over 12 months because it's up all the time when it used to only be up like 2 to 4 times a year, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, possibly. I'll like occasionally drop in if there's, if I have a free evening and the other magic available on the internet is not to my taste, We happen to be in the middle of Ninja Turtles draft season, and that's what's available on Arena, then sure, maybe I'll pop over to Magic Online,
No, very fair. All right, yeah, let's call it there, James. All right, pleasure, man. Thank you very much.
Cool. Always a pleasure.
Nice one. All right, just leaves me to thank you all very much for listening. Do make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell a friend, give us a 5-star review. Greatly helps us out. Until next time, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from James, and we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.